Welcome back to Creepshow. Today, we're diving into a chilling aspect of fame, where celebrity status and wealth sometimes act as a shield, protecting the rich and famous from the repercussions of their actions. In a world where justice seems to turn a blind eye, we'll explore 10 infamous cases of celebrities who took a life but faced little to no real punishment. Get ready to be shocked as we uncover the stories behind these unsettling incidents, along with the astonishingly light sentences that followed. Let's jump in. Number 10. Matthew Broderick. In 1987, during the peak of his fame from Ferris Bueller's Day Off, Broderick found himself behind the wheel in Northern Ireland. But there was a twist. He was driving on the wrong side of the road. While speeding into oncoming traffic, he collided head-on with another vehicle. Tragically, this accident resulted in the deaths of two people, 63-year-old Margaret Doherty and her 28-year-old daughter, Anna Gallagher. The circumstances surrounding his actions remain murky. Broderick himself has stated he has no recollection of that day. "I don't remember getting up in the morning. I don't even remember making my bed," he later confessed. His first vivid memory? Waking up in a hospital, confused and injured. Authorities arrested Broderick, and despite the evident recklessness, he managed to pay bail effortlessly. He was charged with reckless driving, found guilty of causing the tragic deaths, and faced the consequences of a mere $175 fine. Number 9. Rebecca Gayheart. You might remember Rebecca Gayheart from her role on Beverly Hills 90210 as Luke Perry's love interest. Or, if you weren't a 90210 fan, you might recall her from a far more tragic moment, running over and killing a 9-year-old child in Los Angeles on June 13, 2001. Gayheart was driving and talking on her cell phone when the car in front of her stopped to let a little boy, Jorge Cruz Jr., cross the road. But Gayheart wasn't big on patience. Instead of waiting, she veered onto the wrong side of the road to pass the stopped car and tragically ran right over the little boy. She later pleaded no contest to being responsible for the child's death. What were the consequences? Just probation, a $2,800 fine, and 750 hours of community service. The child's family tried to seek justice by filing a wrongful death suit, but Gayheart settled that one out of court. It probably cost her a bit of money, but she could afford it. And for taking the life of a 9-year-old child, an out-of-court settlement feels like a small price to pay. Number 8. Marvin Gaye Sr. You probably already know that Marvin Gaye met his tragic end in Los Angeles at age 44 when his father shot him 3 times in the chest after a spat on April 1, 1984. But you might not realize what happened next, because Marvin Gaye Sr. didn't spend a single day in jail. He pleaded no contest to manslaughter charges and didn't show much remorse. When police asked him if he loved his son, Gaye Sr. simply replied, "Let's say I didn't dislike him." Despite this chilling response, he received a suspended sentence, a penalty typically reserved for minor crimes. This meant the judge decided to delay sending him to prison. So, he went on probation, and as long as he behaved, he would never see the inside of a jail cell. Part of the reason for this leniency was that Gaye Sr. had a brain tumor, and the judge figured he wouldn't be around for long anyway. Ironically, Gaye Sr. lived for 15 more years, all of it out of prison, passing away at the age of 84. Number 7. Ted Kennedy. Senator Ted Kennedy, the youngest brother of JFK, was involved in a tragic incident that resulted in the drowning of a 28-year-old woman in 1969. After taking her for a drive on Chappaquiddick Island, he drove his car off a bridge and left his passenger, Mary Jo Kopechne, to die in the waters below. Kennedy claimed he took a wrong turn. A hell of a wrong turn, indeed. He managed to swim out of the car, but Kopechne was not so fortunate. Instead of calling the police, the ever-heroic Kennedy immediately started covering his tracks. He rushed back to his hotel, changed his clothes, and confronted the innkeeper, yelling about the noise next door while repeatedly asking what time it was, trying to set up an alibi. Kennedy didn't call the police or admit to what happened until they found Kopechne's body. He He pleaded guilty to leaving the scene of an accident and received a suspended sentence, which he served entirely through probation. After Mary Jo Kopechne was buried, Kennedy went right back to work as a U.S. Senator. Number 6. Dante Stallworth, NFL wide receiver. Dante Stallworth found himself in a tragic situation when he got drunk and ran over a man with his car in Miami. In March 2009, after attending a friend's party, he stayed up drinking until 5:30 a.m. After a brief nap, he made the fateful decision to get behind the wheel, believing he could handle it. "I had driven drunk before. It's that feeling of having it under control," Stallworth later explained. However, he would soon realize he wasn't the expert he thought he was. With his senses blurred, he failed to notice 59-year-old Mario Reyes running across the street to catch a bus. Stallworth struck Reyes and killed him. Stallworth called the police and took full responsibility for his actions. "I was driving under the influence and should not have been," he stated. "Anything after that doesn't matter. If I wasn't on that road, it wouldn't have happened. And if I wasn't driving under the influence, I wouldn't have been on that road." He pleaded guilty to manslaughter and faced the consequences of his actions: 30 days in prison and 1,000 hours of community service. But for good behavior, he was released 6 days early, spending less than a month behind bars. Number 5. William S. Burroughs. In 1951, while in Mexico, author William S. Burroughs killed his 28-year-old wife, Joan. The two were at a party, drinking heavily, when Burroughs announced, "It's time for our William Tell act." His giggling wife placed a shot glass on her head, and he called for a crowd to gather, claiming he was going to shoot the glass off her head. Reportedly, Burroughs was a great shot when he was sober, but drunk out of his mind, he was much clumsier. He missed the glass and tragically shot his wife in the face, while a group of their friends watched in horror. Despite several witnesses to the incident, Burroughs told the courts that he had merely been holding the gun when it went off by itself. His story directly contradicted that of everyone who had been there. Yet, incredibly, Burroughs received a suspended sentence and only spent 2 years on probation. Apparently, the memory stuck with him. Years later, one of Burroughs' friends, George Lawhead, recalled an unsettling moment at a party. High on cocaine, Burroughs yelled out a piece of advice to his friends: "Shoot the bitch and write a book." "That's what I did." Number 4. Adlai Stevenson. Adlai Stevenson was very nearly the President of the United States. He was the Democratic candidate in 1952 and 1956, but lost to Dwight Eisenhower both times. However, few know that when he was just 12 years old, he shot and killed a 15-year-old girl. In December 1912, Stevenson's family hosted friends for a party at their home in Bloomington, Illinois. During the gathering, a boy from a military academy was showing off how he'd learned to do the manual of arms. Young Adlai was impressed and wanted to emulate him, so he grabbed the rifle to try it himself. What Stevenson didn't realize was that the gun was loaded. As he attempted to copy what he had seen, the gun went off, tragically shooting his 15-year-old cousin, Ruth Merwin, in the forehead and killing her instantly. At least, that's the official story. According to one witness, however, that narrative was crafted by his parents to protect him. They claimed that young Adlai had pointed the gun at his cousin, thinking it was just a game, and then pulled the trigger. Number 3. Laura Bush. First Lady Laura Bush accidentally killed one of her friends in Midland, Texas, when she was just 17 years old. In 1963, she was driving to a movie theater and, apparently, was in a hurry. Driving well over the speed limit, she went through a stop sign and plowed right into a classmate's car. The impact caused both cars to skid out of control. In those awful seconds, the car door must have been flung open by the impact, Laura Bush recalled. "My body rose in the air until gravity took over, and I was pulled, hard and fast, back to earth. The whole time I was praying that the person in the other car was alive. In my mind, I was calling, 'Please God, please God,' over and over and over again." Tragically, the other person, Michael Dutton Douglas, died in the accident. Laura Bush, however, came out of it without any charges being filed against her. Number 2. Brandy. In December 2006, pop singer Brandy caused a massive pileup on a Los Angeles freeway that tragically ended someone's life. When the car in front of her stopped, Brandy, apparently not paying attention, failed to hit the brake. She smashed into the vehicle from behind, sending it crashing into the car in front of it. Awatef Abudihaj, the 38-year-old driver in front of Brandy, died from her injuries sustained in the accident. Despite the tragic outcome, Brandy didn't face any criminal charges due to a dispute over who was truly at fault. However, the other drivers involved took her to civil court. While Brandy never legally admitted blame, she paid $600,000 to the Abudihaj family to persuade them to drop their case. She also settled with the other families out of court. "The whole experience did completely change my life," Brandy said about it later, "and I can say that I think I'm a better person from it." So, in her view, it's all okay now. She learned a valuable life lesson. Number 1. Vince Neil. On December 8, 1984, Vince Neil, the lead singer of Mötley Crüe, was driving to the liquor store with his friend Nicholas Razzle Dingley, the drummer of Hanoi Rocks, in the passenger seat. Neil was already drunk when he smashed into another car, killing Dingley and leaving the occupants of the other vehicle with severe brain damage. For this horrific act, Neil was sentenced to 30 days in jail. However, he was released after just 15 days. He also had to pay $2.6 million in restitution. Even Neil himself thinks he got off too easy. "I wrote a $2.5 million check for vehicular manslaughter when Razzle died. I should have gone to prison. I definitely deserved to go to prison. But I did 30 days in jail and got laid and drank beer, because that's the power of cash," he said. That's fee it up. Thanks for joining us on this unsettling journey into the intersection of fame and justice here on Creepshow. While it's hard to believe that these celebrities faced so little punishment for their actions, it's a stark reminder of how privilege can sometimes bend the rules. What do you think? Should the law be harsher on those with wealth and fame? Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more fascinating and chilling stories. Until next time, stay curious.